Welcome people to my new video. Apologize for my bad English. In this video I will talk about young people and gambling. Right? So it's a report with the title Young People and Gambling 2022. So it's a Gambling Commission report produced by Ipsos on young people and their gambling behavior, attitudes and awareness in 2022. It has been published on November 10th, 2022. This report contains the findings from the Gambling Commission's annual study exploring gambling behaviors among young people in Great Britain, right? So it's about gambling, young people in Great Britain. Young people 11 years old to 16 years old, let's say teenagers. They try to find out the answers to three questions. One, do you have any experience of gambling? Two, do you gamble with your own money? And three, when do you gamble? Now, the report distinguished two types of gambling. So you have regulated forms of gambling versus unregulated forms of gambling. So regulated forms of gambling, an example is online gambling. And then, gamble with friends is an example of unregulated gambling. So age restricted versus legally available to teenagers. So there's a misconception here. Unregulated is not the same as illegal. So, young people's active involvement in gambling. This first section of the report examines young people's active involvement in gambling, which is self-reported experience of spending their own money on gambling over the last 12 months and 1 year. Did you play arcade gaming machines? Or maybe you gambled with friends, family, cards, slot machines, bingo, esports, national lottery, casino games online, and so on. So variations in active involvement in gambling and variations in active involvement in types of gambling activities. Are there significant differences by age, by gender, ethnicity, family, The report also talks about, the prevalence of non-problem gambling, at-risk gambling, problem gambling, how many teenagers were non-gamblers, how many of them were non-problem gamblers, at-risk gamblers and problem gamblers. And the experience of gambling, to set the findings in context, this report also provides information on young people's wider experience of gambling, which is taking part in gambling but not necessarily with their own money. So this is an overall gambling experience. Did you ever gambled in the last 12 months? And did you really spend your money on gambling in the last 12 months, in the last 4 weeks, in the last 7 days? Then the impact of gambling on young people. This section of the report examines the impacts experienced by young people as a result of their own gambling or someone else's gambling. How gambling impacts on relations with friends and family. You did not feel comfortable around friends. Talk to your parents about how you feel. Never, rarely, sometimes, often, all the time, don't know. Okay. And they collected, the data. How gambling makes young people feel. Young people who had spent their own money on gambling the last 12 months were asked how it affected their happiness and whether it ever made them feel sad or guilty. So happy, sad, guilty. I feel sad when I gamble. I feel guilty when I gamble. I feel happy when I gamble. Strongly agree to strongly disagree, don't know. And the impact of gambling on sleep. You have been worrying about the gambling of a family member or someone who is responsible for looking after you. You have been worrying about your own gambling. You went to bed late because you were gambling. You have been worrying about something else, right? Never, rarely, sometimes, often, all the time, don't know. And the impact of gambling on spending. Helped you buy things you have needed, stopped you from buying things you have wanted. The impact of gambling on schoolwork made it hard for you to put effort into your schoolwork, homework or personal study. And then the impact that family members gambling can have on young people. The impact that family members gambling can have on young people's emotions. And the report also talks about online gambling, and this section focuses on online gambling, examining in more detail active involvement and experience over the last 12 months, as well as awareness of evolving forms of online gambling such as esports and in-game items. Young people's active involvement in online gambling, overall experience of online gambling. And so here, online gambling using parents or guardians' accounts, and you use this money to play with their permission, without their permission, and national lottery games or gambling websites online, and so on. Report also talks about the awareness and use of in-game items in video games, paying for in-game items or mods, for example skins, clothes, weapons, players, either with money or virtual currency, paying to open loot boxes and or packs and or chests to get in-game items, again with money or real money or virtual currency, betting with in-game items on websites outside of the game you are playing. This section focuses on lottery play, examining in more detail active involvement and experience with national lottery products, and looking at who young people are with when they play. Young people's active involvement with lottery products, wider experience, and buying a national lottery draw ticket or scratch card. Report also talks about games and gaming machines, and this section reviews active involvement in and experience with games and gaming machines in the last 12 months, and highlighting who young people are with, the most popular forms of gaming machine, and experience of play in adults-only areas of venues such as holiday parks and arcades. Who were you with? With your parent or guardian or brother, sister, age 17 or older, others, or I was alone. And types of gaming machines, penny falls machines or penny pusher machines, claw or crane grab machines, fruit machines. The report also talks about the context for gambling participation, and this section of the report maps out gambling participation in the context of other risk-taking behaviors, such as smoking, drinking, drug taking, and other activities that young people like to do in their spare time. It also highlights both the reasons why young people choose to gamble and why they do not. It also looks at who young people gamble with and any experiences of being stopped from gambling. Then the attitudes towards and exposure to gambling. This section looks at young people's attitudes towards gambling, including what they think about gambling participation among people their age and who they would go to for help if they had problems with gambling. It also explores young people's exposure to gambling through advertising, sponsorships, and social media. Young people's views on gambling. Gambling is dangerous. It is okay for someone my age to try to gamble to see what it's like. Most people my age gamble. It is okay for someone my age to gamble once a week. Feeling informed about gambling. I feel well informed about the risk of gambling. People have spoken to me about the potential problems that gambling can lead to. Then young people's exposure to gambling adverts and promotions and the frequency of exposure on television, on app, social media, sports events, live streaming or video sharing platforms like Twitch, YouTube, posters, billboards, other websites, radio, newspaper, magazines, somewhere else. And then the report goes a little bit into detail, on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. No, I don't follow any gambling on social media and or streaming platforms. No, I don't use social media and or streaming platforms. Don't know, can't remember. So I put the link, in the comment section to this report, and you can read it yourself. It's 89 pages, with a lot of data. So because of copyright reasons, I won't share the data.